Welcome to our brand new series called Closing the Gap, where our gap cover expert Martin Rimmer, the CEO for Sirago, and myself, Hykie will be answering frequently asked questions within the gap cover industry. Welcome, Martin.
Thank you.
It's lovely to have you on the show.
Thank you so much.
So please tell the viewers, what exactly is gap cover?
Hykie, gap cover is a short-term insurance product that you need as a basic essential if you're a medical scheme member. It covers the difference between what a medical scheme pays and a service provider charges, primarily for when you're in hospital. Those costs can be very debilitating in the case of a serious event in hospital.
Okay, but doesn't medical aid just cover everything? I mean, surely because everybody has got medical, I've got medical aid, am I not completely covered?
You are covered up to the limits that the medical scheme deems necessary in terms of the option that you choose. So medical schemes will charge or pay a tariff up to 100% of their medical scheme rate. In terms of the current legislation environment, a medical scheme or medical doctor can charge anything that he deems fit at that point in time. So he can charge up to 600 times what the medical scheme is prepared to pay. So that gap portion is where we cover in terms of the short-term gap insurance that I provide.
Sure. So, and even the most comprehensive medical aid, even if I've got the best medical aid, I might not be covered completely when I go to hospital.
100%. Unless you subscribe 100% to the rules of the medical scheme that says you must use this provider and this hospital, and you possibly might not have any shortfalls. But very few people subscribe to those rules as set down by the scheme. So even if you're on a massively comprehensive medical scheme option, the chances of you having a shortfall as a result of a hospital event is very, very real.
But how many people are educated in this space? Because I didn't know anything about gap cover. I just thought, well, either get a good hospital plan or get a good medical aid and I'll be A for away.
So I think member education is one of the key flaws in our industry at the moment, and that's why I think the role of an independent financial advisor is a key component in terms of anybody's process. So when you purchase any insurance product, you should always use an independent financial advisor who can give you independent advice and make the most appropriate solutions available to you that are relevant to your pocket as well. So member education is a direct result of your participation with the broker market, so to speak.
Sure. Well, look, insurance is part of our lives. If you've got a car, it needs to be insured. If you've got a house, it needs to be insured. Obviously, our health needs to be insured. So what are some of tell me the consequences of not having gap cover?
Yeah, so the consequences can be dire. As I said, I think the average cost of a gap claim in my world at the moment is around about 4,700 Rand.
Sure.
But it ranges from about 500 Rand right up to 170,000. I mean, this year alone, our single biggest claim for one event was 174,000 Rand. That the person was required, or if they didn't have gap cover, would have had to source that money either through their bond, through their loans, through their savings, or even get...
And this is always unexpected. It's not like we kind of can plan for these things. Most of these things always happen unexpected. And
yeah. So there's two things. You have an elective procedure in hospital where you know you're going to go and have a knee replacement or a hip replacement or whatever. Then you have a motor vehicle accident, which is obviously unforeseen. Okay. In the case of an accident, primarily the schemes are responsible to pay that with what we call prescribed minimum benefit costs. So they should cover the cost in its entirety. But that's a different quagmire of information that we need to go through. The events that we go through for a sort of normal knee replacement, that can cost you anywhere between 45 and 60,000 Rand out of your own pocket after your medical scheme has paid their portion.
Well, basically, to summarize, it's essential. Gap cover. Anybody that has medical aid should have gap cover, and it's not pricey.
No. So obviously, it's relative in terms of what it is. So the option that you choose on your medical scheme should tie up with the option that you choose in your gap cover. You don't want to buy the Rolls Royce if you're not on a Rolls Royce option in terms of your medical scheme, but you want to make sure that the essentials are covered. There's 5 things you need to worry about in gap cover. It's the tariff gap, the gap between what the medical scheme pays and the doctor charges, the co-payments, so you get charged a co-payment into hospital, and sometimes even a procedure co-payment. Cancer is now rife in the country or in the world at the moment, so that's another one that you need to cater for. Your internal prosthesis, so again, certain medical schemes will give you a certain Rand benefit limit. After that, it's out of your pocket, and we will also cover that. And then your emergency room cover. So whenever you're looking at a gap cover solution, those would be the 5 benefit categories that I would focus on.
Sure. Last question. before we close this one. Why do you think a lot of people do not have gap cover?
I think that's a really good question, because if I look at the statistics in terms of the market, we have about 8.5 million beneficiaries on medical scheme cover in the country. Gap cover doesn't report like a medical scheme does. So we have a very, I suppose, loose estimate that we probably only cover a quarter of the beneficiaries in the country at the moment in terms of gap cover. So there's a massive opportunity there. But more importantly, I think it is because the cost, people are under strain financially. And for them to find that 400, 500, 600 rand in terms of the gap cover it makes a massive difference in their world.
Yeah, of course.
But essentially, I think it's important that the brokers get involved in this process, because they will be able to help people make informed decisions in terms of gap cover and insurance solutions in general.
Oh. Martin, you're going to help us close the gap.
Definitely, that's why I'm here.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys.